Not joking, now my guys, them know me.
Them say the blessings where you do no joro. Hey, them say salvation where you do no joro. You bless the girl, you give her victory, oh joro. Hey, you bless the girl, you give her victory, oh joro. Hey, this so joro, where you do for me, it good though. Somebody say aye, aye, somebody say aye, aye. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa, and if you're new, please like this video, subscribe, click the notification bell so that whenever I post, you'll be the first to find out. So you guys, what can you see? What can you see? Can you notice anything? I want to know the people that really know me, the people that have been following my channel for years. Can you guess anything? What do you think is happening? Look around me. What do you think is going on? DJ, play me. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let me know if you know this song. Anyway, I'm just gonna end it here. If you know, you know. But if you don't know, if you still don't understand what is going on, what is happening right now, relax. I did for you. In my next vlog, you will find out. You will know. But in the meantime, if you know, baby.
Not joking, now my guys, them know me.
Anyway, this video is sponsored by LEMFI. More about LEMFI in a jiffy. I've been doing a lot of content about Canada. I've talked about my culture shock, which some of you were not very happy about, but it's fine. We disagree to agree. Today, guys, we'll be doing the actual comparison, and like I always say in my channel, feel free to air your views, feel free to air your opinions, feel free to correct me. Nobody knows it all. I am here to learn as well. I'm here to learn. We're all here to share knowledge. We're all here to get entertained. So feel free to correct me, but please, you have to do that constructively. You have to be very civil and respectful at it. So number one point, of course, it has to be the environment, the structure, the buildings, everything environment. I would say when it comes to the UK, the UK has smaller landmass. I will always say it's more population, smaller landmass. And when that happens, of course, what is expected is smaller buildings, smaller cars, smaller roads. Like I said, it's expected. Compared to Canada that has a really large landmass. Canada should be one of the top 5 biggest countries in the world. Canada has a vast amount of land and lower population density, allowing for more residential plots, spacious homes, especially in suburban and rural areas. And at the same time, many new Canadian homes features really beautiful and modern houses, open spaces, high contemporary furnishings, and even high ceilings. That's one thing I've noticed about Canada. Like, the houses are really high. If I will continue with this video, are you living in the UK? Are you living in Canada? Are you living in the US? And you want to send money to Africa? Trust me, LEMFI is your best bet. Using LEMFI, people living in UK, Canada, and the US are able to send money. You can send your pounds, your Canadian dollars, your US dollars to so many African countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Benin Republic. Send Naira, you want to send CDs, you can easily use LEMFI to send money. And the good part, you get to pay 0 transfer fees. So what you convert is what your family member or your friend or the recipient will receive. No hidden charges, 0 transfer fees, and your recipient will get their money instantly. It's super quick, it's super easy, it's reliable. The person you're sending money to will receive their money instantly. In like a minute, they've gotten their money, and you're getting that phone call, that text message, thank you, God bless you, with all the accompanying prayers that comes to sending money home. And the good thing is that if you send above 150 Canadian dollars, you're going to get 30 Canadian dollars back. How much is minimum wage in Canada? How much is minimum wage in the UK? How much is minimum wage in the US that you'll be getting this cash back? Free money. In fact, that free £15 you get after sending £100, you can even send £15 to somebody. to your brother or to your sister, and they will bless you. And guys, make sure to use my code Melissa when sending money so that you can enjoy this benefit. Guys, download LEMFI today using the link in my description box and pin in the comment section, and make sure to use my code Melissa. Remember guys, you'll get to pay zero transfer fees. Thank you so much LEMFI for sponsoring today's video. When I went to see my friend that lives in a condo is actually really hard. Everything I'm saying is average. Does not mean that it's 100%. Definitely you will still see high houses. My house in the UK, for instance, is very high. Anybody that enters my house in the UK always comments on how high the ceiling is. My house is high, like the typical high Nigerian house. That's how my house is. So some houses are high as well in the UK, but when we talk about the average, it is not common in the UK to see very high houses. You might be tempted to say, oh, my house is high. Can you compare your house in the UK, if you're in the UK, to that of your house in Nigeria? You know, in Nigeria, because of the heat, the weather, we tend to really make our lintel really high and then the roofing even higher, so to allow more hairy spaces. But in the UK, most of the houses are really low. And also, Canada houses often incorporate larger yards, larger gardens, larger front spaces, even larger windows. Meanwhile, UK houses are built in traditional styles. They are way more older, smaller compared to Canada houses. While UK houses can be beautiful, charming, and full of character, they are, however, way smaller than Canada houses. Talking about landmass environment, Canada roads are a whole lot bigger. Their cars are bigger. In the UK, it's very common to find very tiny little cars. In fact, that was one of the major culture shock I experienced when I came to the UK. The cars are generally really small. That does not mean that people don't drive high-end cars, luxurious cars, and all that. But on the average, so most people just want to move from point A to point B. They are not even bothered about how big their cars are. As long as they're able to commute, go to store, go for school run, go to work, they are okay. So most times people just settle for the very small cars. That does not mean that the cars are not expensive. Someone can decide to just buy a 2024 small car instead of buying a 2019 Range Rover or a 2019 Benz that is big. Meanwhile, in Canada, they love Jeep. And that's what I noticed. They love Jeep. Like, Jeep is just really common, and they drive way more bigger cars. And you know, like in the UK, for instance, you find yourself struggling around roundabouts. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. I hate roundabouts. I detest it so much. It's super stressful because sometimes you don't even know who has priority. So in the UK, because of the smaller landmass, you tend to find a whole lot of roundabouts when you are commuting. You can even find up to like 5th exit, 4th exit. It is so exhausting and draining. Some people love it, some people enjoy it, but particularly, I'm not a fan of roundabout because it confuses me a lot, especially if it is not traffic controlled. If it's something you just need to naturally know, oh, who has priority, who does not have priority, it confuses me till date. So that's that for environment. So you can give your verdict in the comment section when it comes to environment. You give it to the UK or you give it to Canada. Let me know, of course, in the comment section. Secondly, immigration. I know most people watching me are immigrants. When it comes to immigration, you can move from your country to Canada as a permanent resident, which is something we usually benefited from. When it comes to the PR route, we have the express entry, we have the provisional nomination. For instance, you can bill in the pool, and Alberta or BC might just send you an email nominating you to, come to their province. And if you accept, you can then write your personal statement and everything. And that can give you so many points for you to be able to become a permanent resident. And when you're a PRO in Canada, you tend to benefit a whole lot. There's so much to benefit from. So you can just carry your bag from your country and move to Canada as a permanent resident, and in no distant time, you're a citizen. Meanwhile, UK has a very long pathway to citizenship, which is something I have experienced. You can get as high as 10 years if you choose to use the student route. If you choose to use the skilled worker route, it can be as long as 5 years. Currently, we have indefinitely leave to remain in the UK, and I can tell you that this took us 5 years. And after that 5 years, you have to wait for an extra year for you to become a British citizen. So it's long, it's expensive, it's tiring, it's draining. You find yourself spending and spending. We are almost due to apply for our British citizenship, and so far it's looking like we're going to spend about £4,000 just getting our British passport. For me alone is 1.6. For my husband alone is 1.6. And then when we get our certificates, we'll have to then pay for passport. There's just really so much to pay for. Not to talk of indefinite leave to remain that costs us nothing less than 11,000 because we use the super priority route. It is very expensive and draining. Canada, on the other hand, of course, is expensive. I've told you guys that when it comes to the PRO, you need to have money. You need to really have money, especially if you want to migrate as a family. For me, for my family of 5, we spent about 40,000 Canadian dollars. That's a whole lot of money. But the good thing is that when you spend it, that's it. You don't have to keep paying for visas, renewing your visas. Unlike in the UK, where we kept on renewing visas. After the first 2 years, we renewed visa. We've just been renewing and renewing. It's really, really exhausting. So when it comes to immigration, I think Canada takes the cake. The UK, for instance, has different routes. We have the global talent visa that I think is about 3 years. We have the skilled worker visa. We have the student route. So many routes. And recently, it has even become way more tighter because you need to have reached a certain salary threshold for you to even be able to bring your partner to the UK. So many things. There's some route that that does not even allow you to bring your dependents. The UK immigration system is very strict. It used to be very flexible in the past, but in 2024, I can tell you for a fact that it is very difficult for you to be able to come to the UK. It is a whole lot difficult now. Meanwhile, Canada offers a lot of immigration-friendly policy, the provision nomination, express entry, programs for entrepreneurs and investors, family sponsorship. It's a lot easier. And still on immigration, if you're in the UK and you're not a British citizen or you don't have indefinite leave to remain, you do not have any recourse to public fund, no recourse whatsoever. And even when you finally become British citizen, your access to some public funds is dependent on your salary threshold. My household, for instance, I have 3 kids who do not receive child benefit, and it's painful because this is something that I could have used for their private lessons, I could have used for their swimming, I could have used for their gymnastic classes, I can use it for different things, but because of our salary bracket as a family, we are not entitled to it. So despite the fact that we have indefinite leave to remain and my kids are British citizens, they still do not have access to child benefit. The only benefit that we currently enjoy is the tax-free childcare. And my twins are 2 years old and they're able to enjoy 15 hours free nursery per week. But Canada, on the other hand, if you come to Canada as a student and you stay in Canada for like 18 months, you will be able to access some public funds. Your child, for instance, will be entitled to childcare benefits. Again, Canada and UK, they still operate in similar way when it comes to salary threshold. So it still depends on your household income to be able to be entitled to some public fund. You can now decide which takes the cake, UK or Canada. And still, guys, when it comes to childcare, I think the UK is really more flexible. You can decide to have a nanny, you can decide to take your child to a childminder, to nursery. There are so many options. And because it's a small country, I think we are a bit close-knit in a way. For instance, where I live in the UK, I have a lot of community. If I need to rush to the office, I have someone to leave my child with, things like that. Meanwhile, in Canada, I know a friend that lives in a particular part of Ontario. She had her money, but she could not get a space for her child to attend nursery. It's actually that bad in some areas. Meanwhile, in the UK, there are a whole lot of options. You might just have to wait for a really short while, maybe because you do not want to attend a nursery, an available nursery that is a far distance from your house. But trust me, that is not really much of a problem at all. So talking about immigration, in the UK, if you come as a student or as a skilled worker, whatever route you choose to come in, as long as you're not a British citizen, if you give birth, your child will be dependent on that visa that you used to enter the country. Your child is not going to be a British citizen automatically. Meanwhile, in Canada, regardless of the route you come in, if you give birth, your child becomes a British citizen automatically, which is quite relieving. In the UK, if you give birth, your child can have free access to all healthcare up until 3 months of age, which a lot of people do not know. If your child is 3 months and above, your child can, of course, have access to GP and A&E. But if your child requires special care or goes on admission in a hospital, you are most likely going to receive a letter asking you to pay. Again, when it comes to this rule, some trusts are usually really, really lenient. They might just let go, but some trusts follow this rule to the T. So you might want to get a visa for your child, which of course is extra expensive. Meanwhile, in Canada, your child is automatically a citizen. So of course, in that aspect, the difference is clear. And then when it comes to education, if you come to Canada as a permanent resident, which of course UK does not offer that opportunity for you to come from wherever you are as an indefinite leave to remain. No, but Canada offers that opportunity. So if you go to Canada as a permanent resident, you can choose to study using the government funds. But in the UK, that opportunity is really not there for you. And of course, in both countries, children have free education from 3 years up until 18 years of age, which is okay. I think this should have been my number one, but for whatever reason, it falls on number 4 or number 5. Proximity and diversity. The UK is much more smaller geographically than Canada, which of course makes it to have easy access to other countries, especially European countries like Spain, Italy, Netherlands, or Schengen countries generally. You can easily just travel for holiday. Most times you're just like 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours away. And at the same time, if you're from Africa, you're from Nigeria like myself, you can easily just commute. For example, if you like to holiday, you want to go to Egypt, you want to go to Morocco, you're probably like 4 or 5 hours away. Or even if you choose to go to Nigeria, at most, you get it for 5 hours if you choose to use a one-way flight. However, in Canada, you find yourself spending up to like 19 hours, 20 hours going back home, like traveling from Canada to Africa. If you choose to come to Europe, you might end up spending like maybe 8 hours, 9 hours, which is a whole lot of time. For me, it's quite long and tiring. I personally do not like flying. I love to travel, but I don't like flying. Funny. Maybe I just need God to provide for us so that we can be flying private jets and first class. I find this so inconvenient and uncomfortable just sitting like this for 8 hours or for 7 hours. I hate it so much. Like, I feel like I need to stretch my legs, I need to walk, I need to move. Like, you're just staying like this and you're sleeping. So I think my problem is actually money. Maybe if God blesses us and we're able to start flying just business class and first class, I will start to enjoy flying or boarding planes. But that's not the subject matter. I'm just trying to say that Canada is far away from most European countries. However, it's closer to the Caribbean, other North American countries like Mexico, like the US. If you're in Ontario, like Niagara, for instance, you can easily enter Buffalo, New York from Niagara. So it's quite close to those countries. But when you want to come down to Africa or visit Europe, be prepared to travel for a very long distance. Talking about proximity, even within Canada, it is far. When we're traveling, the person that sat in front of us that was really warm and kind to my children said our final destination was Alberta. And she still needs to travel for like 4 more hours. I'm like, wow, inside the same country. Like, it's far apart because it's geographically big, massive. And what that means is that you're not really close to your fellow people. You have to form your community around you. And when you form a community, you have to be very intentional. For instance, I'm in Hamilton. I wanted to visit a friend in Ottawa and London. London was like, I think, about 2 hours drive, and Ottawa was like 4 hours. I just ruled out Ottawa and told my friend, sorry, I can't come to Ottawa, it's too far. Meanwhile, UK, because it's a small country, it has one of the best transportation links, quote me anyway. You're literally 1 or 2 train away to your friend, because of course it's a small country, so you can easily just go to point A to point B using train. And what that means is that when you're having a party, you can easily invite your friend that lives around England, to just come to your house, because they're like 1 or 2 or 3 trains away. When it comes to diversity, the UK has a long history of immigration. Now, what that means is that a lot of different nationals have pre-settled long ago, leaving their marks in the country. If you go to Bradford, UK, for instance, there are lots of Asians there. You would even think you're in Pakistan. That's because their forefathers have pre-settled. So the UK is home to large communities like South Asia, Africa, Caribbean, Eastern Europe, to mention a few. And this diversity is reflected in its food, in its festival. It's a multicultural society in a nutshell. In Canada, it is pretty much same. It's still diverse. You can still find different kind of foods. They celebrate different festivals. Canada's multiculturalism is very much evident in its policies and celebration of different cultures nationwide. So I would say both are pretty much the same when it comes to diversity. It's just that UK has a lot more longer history of diversity, if that makes sense. And job opportunities. Job opportunities. There is a reason why, as a doctor, you want to move to Canada and you have to go through the UK to Canada. Canada is your destination, but you have to pass through the UK, train here, and then move to Canada. And there's a reason why I say no. You still have to write a couple of more exams. You have to write your NCLEX before you're able to practice in Canada. I'm not sure if Canada allows registered nurses straight away into their system the way UK does. UK, you don't have to be a university trained nurse for you to be able to practice here. As long as you're able to pass your IELTS, your exams, you can come in and work, I think as a band 3 or band 4, and then you write another exam. Honestly, I forgot it. I used to know all these details, but since I lost interest in nursing, it just left my memory. But here you have to write a more particular exam, and then when you pass that, you can then be a band 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just know it's a bit tricky around there. But what I'm saying that when it comes to job opportunity, there is a whole lot of opportunity in the UK than Canada. Quotes me anywhere. However, in Canada, you're most likely going to get a better pay. Minimum wage here in the UK is like £11.44. In Canada, it's like 17 Canadian dollars or 18 Canadian dollars, about that, which I would say is pretty much the same, because pounds has a whole lot stronger value than Canadian dollars. However, if you're a healthcare professional, you're going to be more appreciated, more valued, and even get much more better pay and live a much more better quality of life in Canada than the UK. But when it comes to like IT, engineering, corporate jobs and all that, you get better pay definitely in Canada. But however, it can be a little difficult and tricky for you to get into the system. In UK, for instance, you don't even need to have a truckload of experience or UK experience for you to be able to get into the system. They can still accept your experience for Nigeria. However, in Canada, most times they want that Canada experience. So you might need to do a whole lot of qualifications. That's not me saying you won't need UK qualifications, but you really do not need that qualification for you to be able to get into the system, if that makes sense. Maybe whilst in the system, you can then start doing your qualification. And of course, I'm not talking about all fields. For example, in healthcare, you definitely have to pass their exams before you can touch their patients. But however, in Canada, it's a bit tricky. It can be really difficult for you to get in, but once you're in, it just takes 1 year, and that is just the beginning of your success story. So both countries are good, they are beautiful, they offer you career progression. If you want to grow, you will grow. It might just be a bit difficult entering, getting that first years, but once you get that first year, sky is your starting point. Of course, when it comes to work-life balance and flexibility, I think both countries are pretty much the same. They value family, they understand the importance of work-life balance, and it's incorporated in their system. And cost of living, I've said this a whole lot of times, but yeah, I'm still going to repeat it. Canada has a higher cost of living than the UK. You can take it to the bank, you can take it anywhere, but just have it at the back of your mind that things are way more expensive in Canada. When it comes to maternity and paternity, I think in UK, as long as you've worked up to like 15 weeks before your due date, you're entitled to maternity pay and maternity allowance. By maternity pay means that you're entitled to statutory maternity pay. And I think for the first 6 weeks, you get to be paid 90% of your wages, and subsequent week it reduces, but you're paid up until your 9th month, but you can take up to 1 year. 3 months will be unpaid. However, in Canada, you can choose to go on maternity leave for 1 year, and you'll be paid 55% of your gross earning. If you choose to stay for up to 18 months, you'll be paid 33% of your gross earning. And I think you must have worked up to 600 hours. It's a bit tricky, and I think at the end of the day, both are pretty much the same, because you can even get employer contribution towards your maternity leave. If you're working for a very big company, they can choose to enhance your maternity pay by paying you a whole lot more. So I think both of them pretty much the same. Both systems have similar system, just little tweaks, little differences here or there. So it now depends on you to figure out what you really want. And same thing, healthcare is even same. UK, we have the NHS. If you're a student, you get to pay your IHS. If you're a skilled worker, you don't get to pay IHS, but then they take your national insurance every month, so you can be able to access your GP, your doctor. And yes, in the UK, it's very rare for you not to have a GP. It's really rare. However, in Canada, like I said in my previous video, about 4.6% of people living in Canada do not have family doctors. They just access walk-in clinics and ER because there's a huge shortage. Healthcare is the same thing, free. You get to pay your tax, of course. And if you're a student, I think you get to pay insurance for you to be able to access the healthcare system. So they are pretty much the same. Insurance, IHS, the same thing, right? Yeah, however, in both countries, I think dental system is not free. for people, for adults. It's not free. So I think it's free for children. Like my kids, they get to have this routine appointment where they have their teeth checked, cleaned up and all that. But as an adult, if I want to do that, except of course I am pregnant or still within my 1 year postpartum, right now I'm not pregnant. If I want dental care, I will have to pay out of my pocket. If that makes sense. I know this video is super long. There's just so much to talk about. So much, but I mean, it cannot be exhausted in one video. So just know what you want for yourself, what you want for your family. And most importantly, guys, before I go, I forgot to talk about the weather. Canada offers very extreme weather. When it's cold, it's cold. When it's sunny, it's sunny. Like, see my skin is seriously suffering. Weather has really dealt with my skin. I was exposed to so much sun. It's even starting to come back again. So if you don't mind the extreme weather in Canada, there are some provinces that the weather are not really that bad. Like Ontario, for instance, or British Columbia, it's not really that bad during winter. But some areas like Alberta, it is blood. You can get like -37, high knee snow. So if you don't mind that, of course, you can go to Canada. But in the UK, if you do not mind the constant rain, it is always raining in the UK. You can get rain, sunshine. It's always raining. In a whole year, we can get like just 2 weeks of full blast summer, full blast sun in a whole year. Meanwhile, in Canada, when it's summer, it's shiny. You can rock your Nigerian clothes. You can rock your summer clothes. In the UK, in summer, you can find yourself putting on your winter jacket. In fact, that's our June, July, that it was bloody hot in Canada. We're putting on winter jacket and carrying umbrella because it was raining. So just choose your poison, right? Choose which is better for you. You guys already know, I always say it on my channel. For me, I love the UK. However, Canada works best for my family. It's okay. It's just best. That's my forever country. I think that's the country I'm most likely just gonna live in for the rest of my life, raise my children and retire. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Share, of course, your input in the comment section, and I will see you all again. Bye, guys.